I was going to put together a script so I didn't ramble, but I never got around to it. So I just gonna talk from memory about when I last visited Tom in August of 2019. I got there and I rode my motorcycle there because it was during the weekend of the historic Cedar Creek Ragtime Festival. And I saw that Julia Riley had signed in. I didn't see Deborah Gale, another friend of ours that was actually still there, apparently had just signed in. So I walked in my motorcycle gear all around the facility trying to find where they were. Couldn't figure it out. There was some sort of exercise program going in the one room where in the rec room where we normally go. And so I didn't think they would go through there to get into the little meeting room there. And I was walking all around the facility getting kind of winded. And finally one of the nurses there said, who are you looking for? And I said, Tom, I know he's with some other friends right now. And they said, oh, well, they're usually in that room. And I said, well, I don't think they would have gone through the exercise. People were exercising. And they said, oh, well, there's a back entrance. It's like, oh, so I didn't realize this one little hallway was a back entrance to that room. So when I opened the, when the door opened, I heard kind of like MIDI sounding piano music. And I thought they were playing music for Tom. But when I turned, I saw it was Tom playing. He had their little rollout membrane keyboard, and he was playing with his left hand. But I was so winded and hot, wanting to get my motorcycle gear off that I didn't really get to pay attention to what he was doing. Just scales or chords, or if he's playing anything. It was obviously intelligible music. It wasn't like nonsense. Deborah's, I mentioned that I brought stuff for Tom to try compose with, because as you recall, that was something that Tom had expressed a great interest in November of 2018. And so, Deborah said, well, are you going to need the keyboard? I said, well, not for now. And she says, well, okay, well, I'll take it back to his room. And she took it away before I got all my gear off. So I never really got to see Tom play, really, and really pay attention to what he was doing. But that was like the first time I'd heard him play anything since the Badger song. The video of the Badger song, I think, was the last thing I heard him play. But that was kind of unfortunate because it really turned out that probably a keyboard would have been a good thing. Deborah never returned because she just was on her way out, and Julia had already just left by the time I found where they were. So it was just me and Tom. And I mentioned Tom, we had a big music staff out because he had, in the interim, Warren Jennings had brought a magnetic board with a music staff on it and some black magnets, and Tom was able to spell out chords, so he demonstrated an ability. So all I had was like a bunch of wooden buttons you get for teddy bears, and I wrote everything you would need to write music on it. Note heads, closed note heads, open note heads, markings for tempo, markings for dynamics, triplets and tuplets and numbers and letters, everything you would need. It just didn't have note durations, but as I mentioned to Tom, it's like, as long as you have indications of notes and rests, the durations can be figured out from context. Don't worry about that. And so I brought it out and I set up all the stuff, and he was not interested. He didn't want to do it. So, I said, so you want to try it? He said, no. He didn't say a word. He's pretty much given up on trying to speak. When I saw him in November, he was just a yes or a no, and now it's just a nod or a nod or a shake. So yeah, he wasn't interested in using it at all. So, are you sure? And he kind of did a yes and no at the same time thing. He just wanted to listen to music. I brought recordings for him to listen to, or Anthony Sargenson has done like synthesizer versions of some of Tom's music and some of other ragtime. Tom got to get a big kick out of that because Tom used to do that. He released an entire album of ragtime on synthesizers. Two albums, actually, one more sampling keyboards, but so that was kind of fun. But yeah, he wasn't interested in using. I think he it's too much work. I think he wants an easy way to do it, and that's just not available. If we had the keyboard out, maybe he could have just played something. I could have just written down what he was playing as he played it. which is a lot easier than moving pieces around. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to try next in terms of allowing him to compose. He needs to have the interest, which unfortunately he didn't. But other than that, yeah, I mean, we just listened to music, showed him some. I didn't have any way of showing him videos. But I just played music for him. Mentioned that at the previous Sutter Creek Festival in 2018, we played on a player piano there some of Tom's hand-played performances. So I said, Tom he played a set basically. We took all of his hand-played, well, not all of it. It was all his own hand-played music, and had the player piano play them back, and it was a standing room only crowd. People were just in tears hearing Tom play live. That's something I've done some videos of these Brier videos on my player piano, but the recording still doesn't do it justice. I mean, obviously most of you've only ever heard recordings of Tom, but hearing the piano play, it sounds like Tom's in the room. It's the only way we can hear Tom play ever again. So that was a really big thing. We didn't get to do that again this past year. I have a whole bunch more of hand-played performances by Tom and accompaniments that will need to be cleaned up of wrong notes and so forth, because the disclavier is calibrated differently than the piano disc that I have here. The disclaviers register notes that aren't fully sounded, that aren't sounded, and so the first 30 MIDI velocity levels don't actually sound on a disclavier, but on a piano disc it's calibrated to sound. So any brushed notes actually sound in my player piano, so I have to clear those out before I can actually make a video of them. So afterward, some other, I was just about getting ready to leave, and then a bunch of other musicians and friends came. Danny Matson and Jean-Marie Torres, Chip Lusby, a whole bunch of other people. They all came, and John actually played several tunes on a piano there in the rec room for the residents after lunch, and they just loved it. Hearing the live music from a really good musician like John Reed Torres, and Tom, of course, really enjoyed hearing it as well. And then they all left, and then I wrapped it up with Tom. I still had to get my gear on. Of course, it takes me 15 minutes to get it all kitted up for my motorcycle. And I asked Tom if, as I was kitting up, Tom went out the back door. He can wheel himself on his wheelchair, with his left hand and his left leg, and his right hand is still constricted. He can kind of do that. That's about it with his right hand. And so I once I got my gear on, I went off after him, and because the way he went out the back door, that's a long way to get back to his room. And I saw him just sitting in the hallway. He's just kind of sitting he just stopped in the hallway, like two corners down, where he was actually pretty close to his room at that point, kind of going the very circuitous route. And I said, you want, because he had stopped and he was going back to his room, and I asked him, you want me to help you get to your room? And he said, he says yes. But then, before I start pushing him, he turns himself around and goes back the way we came. I was like, okay, so, helping him going back, and we had to go back through that door, two sets of doors, go through the rec room where there's now a big bingo game coming through, and come all the way back around to his room, which I thought was very odd. It seems like he got lost, like even though he's been in that facility, for a few years, that he doesn't have a good sense of direction. So I think he's still lacking in that department. I mean, obviously when you talk to him, he understands music. He understands, who's doing what and what's saying what, and he laughs at jokes and so forth. But there are certainly still some struggles. I think maybe a sense of direction might be one of them. So that was kind of, I didn't, that wasn't too encouraging, that he kind of did a U-turn and went all the way back around a long way rather than continuing to his room from that direction. Yeah, so that was it. I may get to see him this weekend. There's a big birthday party for him. October 3rd is his birthday. There's going to be a big birthday party for him and Tomoko Jennings. It's Tomoko's birthday is actually the same day as Tom's. And so at the Jennings house, Tom is actually going to be brought. His family is going to bring him out to that party in Sacramento. The problem is it's already snowing in the mountains. So I'll have to see how cold it's going to be. I mean, as long as I go in the morning and come back when it's still daytime and not at nighttime, because it's about 3 hours away. At nighttime it'd be sub-freezing, and I can handle sub-freezing temperatures on the motorcycle commuting to work, but 3 hours would be a bit much. So hopefully I'll be able to make it and see Tom again there and outside of the facility where people will be playing the piano for him and stuff. So that's about it. Other updates, people ask all the time for Tom. There is a Discord server, and there's an announcements channel in that Discord server. Whenever anybody goes to visit Tom and posts, what they did and what they said with Tom, what they did with Tom, and what Tom's reaction, I will copy those to the announcements channel so you can get regular updates, because Julia visits Tom quite often, and Michael Chisholm just moved to the area. He'd been in Southern California previously and then in Texas prior to that, but now he's in Northern California, so he'll be able to visit Tom much more often. And so whenever anybody visits Tom and posts an account of it, I will copy it to the announcements channel on the Discord server. So make sure you check out the Discord server. I'll put the invite link in the video description here. And that's about it. So I don't know when I'll post another video update of Tom, because there really isn't many updates. There isn't really any change. If we find some way of him composing music again, I really think that would be great for him. Maybe at this party we can get him to play something with his left hand to indicate something that he wants. We can write it down. I don't know if it's up to him as to whether he wants to do it. Again, he isn't getting any speech therapy, so it's really difficult for him to say anything. So he chooses not to. He just will nod or shake his head. So that's about it. So check out the Discord channel, or the Discord server, and the general channel. It's just become basically now a chat room for my channel. Basically, it originally was set up as trying to come up with a way for Tom to compose again, but since he isn't showing interest, it's now just we'll share links, things that we remember about Tom, or links that sometimes I'll share links of things that I think subscribers to my channel might like, things that from other channels, things, various ragtime things. So it's a cool channel, but certainly the announcements channel, or I keep saying channel, server, the announcements channel is certainly one you want to check out, because there will be posts there pretty much every month. So that's about it. We'll see you later.